Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Brandon Wynn and this is Critical Failure. So on my Instagram, or the channel's Instagram I should say, I had posted talking about how I'm going to be working on 3 mythological pantheons for D&D, creating stats for the gods and goddesses and some of the monsters, mostly the gods and goddesses. So I said which one you guys would like to see between the Norse, Greek, and Egyptian, and to which so far I was told Norse, and to which I had coincidentally already started working on them. So under the same thing, the same post, I was told I should do videos on the family trees of monsters and such like that, and to which I thought of why not just doing it to most of the gods and goddesses in general. And that got me thinking, while I'm doing something on the monsters, getting their like family tree, why not like create stats for them also, the ones that aren't well known and stuff like that. So this is one of those videos. This is a video on Fafnir, a dwarf turned serpent slash dragon, and I will be giving a very brief, probably very laxed on info summary of the actual story, just so you have a rough idea of what the story was about, and that way you understand why I turned him into the creature and the reasons why and everything. So this comes from like a 13th century story from Iceland. If I'm correct, it's called the Volsunga Saga. And Fafnir was a dwarf. In some stories he was a Jotun. And for this sake, I'm going to keep him as a dwarf. So he's a powerful and fearless dwarf who protected his father's King Heimdall, I think. Let me see. Well, first of all, it says that he's protecting his father's gold and gems, but the way that the story kind of placed it sounded like he's protecting his father's house made of this stuff. Into which, if I'm correct, his father is named Hreimdar. Hreidmar. I am completely wrong. His name is Hreidmar. Okay, I literally skipped over it somehow, but Fafnir has several siblings among that. Their names are Lindheider, Otter, Lofenheider, and Regan. Regan, something like that. And his father is a dwarven king, like a dwarven king, or the dwarf king. It's kind of switched around in some stories. Some summaries of the story, it switches. So I said a dwarf king for this video. But basically the story kind of starts off with, at least for where this character turns into the problem. It starts off with the Regan telling Sigurd, his foster son and the hero of the story, about how Loki, Holnir, another god, and Odin came across his brother Otter, who happens to coincidentally look like an otter during the day, and how they skinned him and brought his skin to his father Hreidmar. Now this angered Hreidmar, and he and his remaining sons, which in the story for some reason was 2, so that makes me wonder, since Fafnir and Regan were alive, what happened to Lindheider and Lofenheider? Because Otter is dead. I wanted to know what happened to them, into which I will be doing more stuff on that later, just for my own personal amusement. But they held Odin and Honir hostage while Loki was supposed to go get gold. And this is a weird part. They wanted him to fill Other's skin full of gold and encase it with red gold, and that's pretty disturbing. Well, Loki did it while tricking someone, and that person cursed the gold, and the curse was whoever owns the gold dies. So yeah, that's pretty obvious. So Loki succeeds with the ransom. They are let go, and Fafnir kills his father, Hreidmar, to essentially obtain, whatever you want to say, hostile takeover of the money. He wants everything, and he became ill-mannered and greedy and all this jazz because of it, and he essentially stole away to the forest. He went into the woods, and he was like, this is my place, this is my gold. And he was turned into a serpent or a dragon, probably a dragon, because dragons are a thing of greed in Viking mythology. So I'm not sure if it was a slow process or if it was a quick process, but he's one nonetheless. Now, Regan plotted to steal the gold, and it sounded like he was going to do it with Sigurd, but he ended up chickening out, and he kind of like had Sigurd do it by himself, and Sigurd decided to continue with it even though not having backup. So he started digging a trench, and an old man with a long beard came up to him and told him that he should probably start digging more trenches to not drown in his blood, Fafnir's blood. Because remember, he's a giant serpent at this point. At least that's what I'm assuming, is he's a giant serpent. And this man was Odin, actually, giving him wisdom and stuff like that. Like, it's Odin. He does that often. And he was in Fafnir. Sigurd was going to end up lying in wait, and he does for a while, lying in wait in one of these trenches after he built or dug several of them. And his sword, named Garm, was with him, and he stabs as Fafnir is going to a lake to go drink, into which he had built these trenches. He stabs him in the heart, and as Fafnir is dying, he warns Sigurd about the curse of the gold, into which he basically had said every man wants to die rich from the beginning of his life to the end, like basically that. And it's a dream for a man to die with his gold or his money. Now, that's me saying that in a very different way, so I'm not flagged for copyright in any manner, because copyright's been an issue with my life for a lot, for college and stuff like that, so yeah. But eventually Sigurd came back to Regan. Now, he ate part of Fafnir's heart, and that gave him the ability to understand Odin's birds. I think that was just like birds in general. I'm not very sure, but it could have been just a specific thing like ravens or something like that, like because Odin has crows. But he found out that Regan was trying to kill Sigurd. Jealousy, man. It's like greed. And Sigurd found out about this, and he beheaded him with Garm. And that's essentially the end of the story. Now, Sigurd does continue to have more things in either this story or more stories, into which I think his other name would be Sigurd or Sigmire. I forgot which one, but he does have another name in another text, to which is a similar story. But yeah, it does change. Some say that Fafnir was a Jotun, like I said earlier, but it just really depends. I'm sticking with the dwarf story because that's the one that I've read, more or less. So Now, how does this relate to D&D? So, aside from the story, this is for essentially how I wanted it. I figured, you know, because how Medusa was in D&D, how they changed Gorgons into a different thing, you know, and Medusa has its own, like, essentially, like, race for some reason. I figured Fafnir could be the same, to where any humanoid that essentially did whatever the, like, real Fafnir did, the dwarf, turned into a creature called the Fafnir. And they're serpentine dragons, whatever you want to call them, and they're intelligent. Like, they maintain their brain connectivity, and they're not stupid. Like, they're the same thing, just in a dragon form. And I would say that they're chaotic evil, and they're essentially like chromatic dragons, I would say. So like black chromatic dragons is what I put this as, because of how it was described. But for the stats for Fafnir, they have an AC of 16, they're size large, and they have an HP range count of 67 for medium, or median. Now, that would be 12d10, so it could be a maximum of 120 HP. I say that these guys should be attacked in, like, party, but they're going to be difficult for low level, but not really much of anything for a high level. But they have a speed of 40, their strength is an 18, so that's a +4. They have a dex of 19, which is a +4, constitution of 16, which is a +3, intelligence of 15, so that's a +2, wisdom of 15, so that's a +2, and charisma of 12, which is +1. His saves are dex, which is a +7, strength, which is a +7, and intelligence of a +5. And the skills that you're proficient in is intimidation, which is a +7, athletics, which is a +7, and perception, which is a +5. Now, he has damage immunity from poison, and his condition immunity is poison, because he's still able to be killed by most weapons and stuff like that, so he's not necessarily immortal. I would say that he has a dark vision of 60 feet, and he's able to speak Draconic, Common, and any language that humanoid spoke, like when he was in that original form. So if he was an orc, he spoke Orcish. If he was a goblin, he spoke Goblinoid, you know, all that jazz. And for his actions, he did bite attack, which is 1d6 plus strength and 2d6 poison. Acidic spray, which is 1d6 acid, 1d6 poison. Into which you could totally add a thing to where it's a constitution save or be poisoned for 1d6 damage per round for a minute, unless they save. And then I have something called coiling death or whatever. I just put coiling on this, but it's the Fafnir coils around the enemy and then leaving the head exposed, essentially trying to pop the head like a blister. And it deals 2d6 bludgeoning damage, and the target is considered grappled and must make a DC strength save of 17 to get out of the grapple. Now, I really like this thing. It's really cool because I plan on making a couple of these. I plan on making Grendel as a character and stuff like that, so I would really like to see this. But yeah, that is the Fafnir, and that is a story of, or a very rough draft of the story of Fafnir, the dwarf. So tell me what you guys think of this video. Like, comment, subscribe, please. That definitely helps us out. Please go check us out on our Instagram, Critical.Failure. If you would like a written out version of the stats for Fafnir, please bear with me or message me. You can definitely email me at BrandonWynn5730 if you don't know how to spell that. It's BrandonNguyen 5730 @gmail.com. And email me. I can definitely send you the stats for this thing. I definitely do not have a challenge rating for it yet, so be aware that that could possibly be an issue for you if you're planning on trying to do it against like group of level 1 to 2 players. Like if you're wanting a TPK, you can put it in, but I wouldn't do that. But anything above like level 5 characters, I really don't think it would be much of an issue. So I hope you guys really like this, because I really like this. I'm going to be doing the Norse gods still. I'm all the way on to Hela. I have a couple gods that I accidentally missed, but I'm going to be going on to them. My next video might be a demon video. I'm not sure yet, but I might just make it on Aegir, the Norse god of the sea, because I already did his character stats and his synopsis or summary or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, hoping that I did that decently. So yeah, that's really it. So hope you guys enjoy your morning, noon, night, whatever it is, and yeah, see you guys.